From this article, I learned that cloud computing is basically when companies or users don't need to store their data or run programs on their own computers because everything can be accessed through the internet. Instead of buying expensive hardware, they can just use services provided by cloud companies. One thing I found interesting was how cloud computing actually developed over time. It didn't just suddenly appear, it came from earlier ideas like distributed computing and grid computing, which shows how technology keeps evolving step by step. I also learned that different types of cloud services like SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. SaaS is when you use software through the internet like Google Apps. PaaS is when developers use cloud platforms to build applications. And IaaS is when companies rent infrastructure like servers instead of buying them. Another important thing I learned is that cloud computing has many benefits like lower costs, easier maintenance, and scalability. But there are also risks like security and privacy concerns because data is stored on external servers. Overall, this article helped me understand both the advantages and risks, which made me realize cloud computing is useful, but organizations still need to be careful when using it. From this article, I learned that cloud computing doesn't just mean storage. It actually includes many different types of services that companies can use depending on their needs. One key thing I understood is that cloud computing helps businesses increase their IT capacity without needing to buy new equipment or hire more staff. They can just pay for what they use. The article also explained different types of cloud services. For example, again, SaaS allows people to use applications through a browser without installing anything, while utility computing also allows businesses to rent storage or servers when needed. Another thing I learned is that cloud platforms can also provide development environments where programmers can build applications directly on the cloud instead of setting everything up themselves. What I found most interesting is how cloud computing is still growing and changing. The article mentioned that in the future more systems will probably be connected through the cloud because it's just flexible and scalable. From this reading, I understood that cloud computing is not just one technology, but more like a collection of different services working together. From this article, I learned that cloud computing is considered a new computing model that focuses on flexibility, scalability, and providing services on demand. One thing I understood is that cloud computing allows users to move their applications and data to remote systems and access them easily from anywhere. I also learned that cloud computing became popular because managing IT infrastructure became too complex and expensive for many organizations. Moving to the cloud helps reduce this complexity. Another important learning point was the different services such as software as a service, data as a service, and infrastructure as a service. These services allow users to access software, data, and hardware depending on what they need. The article also explains some important features of cloud computing like scalability, flexibility, and on-demand services. This means businesses can easily increase or decrease resources depending on their needs. From this article, I learned what cloud computing is becoming more important because it allows organizations to work more efficiently and adapt quickly to changes. Well, from the week 5 slides, I learned about how cloud systems are actually managed behind the scenes. I learned that cloud providers use automation and orchestration to manage systems and reduce manual work. I also learned about APIs, SDKs. APIs allows different software systems to communicate with each other, while SDKs provide tools developers can use to build applications more easily. Another important learning point was that automation helps organizations manage cloud more efficiently by reducing human errors and saving time. From these slides, I understood that cloud computing is not just about storing data, but also about how systems are organized and managed efficiently. Overall, from all the readings, I learned that cloud computing is becoming an important part of modern IT because it helps organizations reduce costs, improve flexibility, and scale their systems easily. I also realized that even though cloud computing has many advantages, security and privacy are still big concerns that organizations must manage properly. What I found most interesting is how cloud computing continues to grow and will probably become even more important in the future as more businesses rely on digital systems.